Friends, let me ask you something. Do you love barbecue? I mean, really love barbecue. Do you spend your whole weekend babysitting a whole packer brisket? Do you fantasize about endless rows of pork ribs? Did Sir Mix-a-Lot have you in mind when he sung about those butts? Well, I got something to show you I think you're going to like, because there's going to come a time you need to chop up that beautiful brisket. Cut up those slabs of ribs. Dice up those big old butts, crack and all. And get all that gorgeous barbecue ready for your friends and family to feast. And in order to do all that, well, you need one of these, the perfect barbecue knife. And I'm going to show you how you can make your own for about $30. But before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it to any of your friends that might like similar content like this. Thank you. So the subject of this video is to show how you can take a pair of cheap Old Hickory cleavers like these and turn them into a knife that any pitmaster will be proud to show off to all his friends and family. Now, if you're wanting something ready to run right out of the box, you can pick these up for about $20 a piece if you shop around, and they'll work just fine the way they are. But I hope you stick around and watch this video, because I'd really like to show you how you could take these knives and turn them into something really wonderful in half a weekend. Check it out, please. And so what makes these inexpensive knives such a great starting point for this project is they actually have a really good 1095 high carbon steel blade that has a 57 to 59 Rockwell hardness rating. And they just have the right shape, the right thickness, and just the perfect size. And they actually look pretty cool when you finish the project. So now the negative is that they're not finished very well from the factory. They ship out with these cheap wooden hickory handles that are too thin for a proper grip, and they're only held on by two cheap brass rivets, so they will come loose. The rivets will eventually corrode and the handles will break off. And even if they don't, you're still going to get water. It's going to get between the wooden handle and the metal blade, and it's going to dry and wet, and you're going to get bacteria and stuff up in there, and you don't want that. You want a nice sanitary blade. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix all that, and we're going to take some of this canvas micarta that we have. You can get this at any knife shop, hobby shop, or anything like that. What we have here is 3/8 inch thick canvas micarta, and we're going to add some orange G10 spacers in there to give it a little extra bling. And we're also going to taper these to where they fit your hand snug as a rug, where you can chop all day with a nice loose grip like you need to in order to process those briskets and pork butts. So let's get started, okay? So the first thing you need to do is put some masking tape, at least a couple layers, on your sharp edge so you don't cut yourself while you're working on these knives. Then you need to take a drill. You can use either a drill press or a hand drill, put it in a vise, and drill out these rivets. That way we can get these handles off. I think drilling out the rivet is the fastest and easiest way. You're just going through the end of it. You're not going all the way through the handle. Just once you cut through far enough, the handle will come off. You may have to pry them or use a punch and punch them on out, but they'll come off. So set those aside. Don't throw them away. You might need those later. So, all right, now we got to start laying out our handle material. So best thing is to cover your micarta with masking tape you're not really trying to protect it. You just want to be able to mark it and keep your marks on there where you can see it easy when you go to cut it out with the whatever kind of saw you end up using. Also, don't put the lines right up against each other. If you look, I'm leaving enough space between the lines for the blade because I need the handles to be larger than the steel handle of the blank right here. Okay, it's got to be bigger because we're going to sand down to it. Once again, your cutout has to be larger than the steel blank handle, both width and length. So double check yourself. If you cut it too small, you can't make it bigger. You cut it big, you can always sand it down to size. So let's make sure. Now, same thing with the G10. We got to go ahead and mark this as well. Now the G10 is optional, but it makes a really nice touch, and it comes in all different colors, and so does the micarta handles. They come in all kinds of colors too, so check out all the different options you can do. Now this next minute or two is me cutting out my handles on my bandsaw, so if you want you can just fast forward for a minute, or not, it's up to you. So now that we have our handles cut out, we can hold them onto the knife here and kind of visualize how they're going to turn out. Remember, we want to taper the handle, narrow at the top, wide at the end. That way it doesn't slip out of our hand as easy when we use that nice loose grip while we're chopping the meat. And once we make sure everything's cut to size exactly how we want it, we're going to take some 80 grit sandpaper and just get all the burrs off the edges, make sure they're completely flat. And we also want to etch the sides to help the epoxy adhere to it. So just rough it up good, get the shine off of it, that's what we're looking for. Now we want to prep a few stir sticks for the epoxy, so just take whatever cardboard container you have, pizza box, whatever, cut you some little strips out of them, fold them in half to make them a little more rigid. Make about twice as many as you think you'll need because you'll end up needing them. So make you a nice little stack and have them ready to go. Alright, let's set those aside. Once you mix up your epoxy, you're not going to want to play around trying to come up with a stir stick or anything. Alright, so now let's get some paper towels and a little bit of alcohol here. Fold up your paper towel and get some alcohol on there. Nice and wet. And let's start wiping all these down. Let's get them nice and clean, get the marker off, get all the dust off of it, any glue, any tape residue, just anything that might be on there. Let's get them nice and clean because we want that glue to last forever. And also notice how I'm setting them on a paper towel because I don't know if I got any dust or anything on that cardboard. I don't want to get anything back on them once I clean them, so making sure I set everything nice and neat here. And also notice how I'm working. I'm laying everything out because I'm going to start pairing everything up, and we don't want to mix them up. Each piece is going to go with each piece, and it's more important the further along we get in this project is to keep the right hand side handle and the left hand side handle with one blade and so forth with the second blade. So just don't want to start mixing things up because we don't want to get confused while we have epoxy all mixed up, ready to apply. Now, speaking of epoxy, I'm using the J&B Weld, clear weld, 2-part. One is the hardener, one is the resin. So we're going to make 2 even puddles on a little scrap piece of cardboard here. It's pretty thick, so just be patient. Don't want to waste it. But let's get a nice little puddle there and get the cap back on. And then get ready to grab the second one. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Get the cap off. Make us a little puddle right next to it. And just do the best you can to make it about the same size. Remember, the puddle's going to spread out a little bit after you pour it. So it might look a little smaller at the beginning, but they'll equal out. Alright. Now, we just get everything staged and ready. And we're going to grab one of our stir sticks. Make sure we get a nice stiff one. And we're just going to make sure we got a nice grip on it and just press down and stir. And go counterclockwise or clockwise, whichever way you want to go. But then about halfway through, switch and go the other direction. And then just kind of scrape everything to the center here. And that's what's going to make it mix up. That's the fastest way I've ever found to mix epoxy, Bondo, any kind of 2-part thing, is just do it like that. Throw the first one, the mixing one, away, grab a fresh one. That way whatever product you're applying you know is mixed up good. That stick might have some unmixed product on there, that's why I toss it. And we're just going to apply a real nice even coat and then stick our liner on there and put a little clamp on it and hold it in place. Now, we could have done this and glued everything in one shot. It just would have made it more complicated. So I decided to do my gluing in 2 steps. Liner to the micarta and then the handle to the blade. So that'll be separate. Alright, we're just going to continue the procedure with the rest of them until we get them all glued and clamped. And no, I'm not the bionic man. I just fast forwarded it because I didn't feel like you wanted to sit here for the next 10 minutes while I glue all the handles. So got it on 4 times the speed. And also you might be thinking, well, you only got 1 clamp on there. Well, A, I only had 4 clamps handy at the time. And B, the G10 is very stiff, so is the micarta. It doesn't really bend, so they glue up just fine. There's really no issue to mention there. So we get them all glued up, double check them all, make sure they're all perfectly straight. Take that alcohol rag and clean our hands off and get ready to take advantage of the dry time and start working on the patina on our blades. Now, I have a video in my playlist on making a custom knife that the whole video talks about doing the patina on the blades. So I'm going to fast forward through this too. Just a quick refresher on it, but if you want more information on putting a patina on a carbon steel blade, you can check out the video on custom knife making patina. Or also I have it on my M4 steel on my Spyderco Manix 2. I have a force patina video on that as well. So you can check out either one of those 2 videos. But first thing we're going to do is take the paper towels, alcohol. We're going to clean the blade very thoroughly. Both sides, all the edges, every square inch. And once again, lay it on a clean paper towel to make sure we doesn't put any contaminants back on the blade. Then we're going to take some regular old mustard and a Q-tip. And these blades, the way they're made, the way they're stamped, there's like reliefs in the blade. And I'm going to utilize that to form my pattern. So I'm going to take the Q-tip, with the mustard and start painting the indentions on the blade as closely as I can. Now this is the first time I've done this style blade, so it'll be a new pattern and we'll check it out together, okay? Now there's a couple reasons we're doing the patina on the blade. First of all, it will form by itself. It's a carbon steel blade, so your knife will form its own patina over the years that you use it. But it takes a while and it might be uneven. And in the meantime, you're worried about it rusting or oxidation or something like that happening. But by going ahead and forcing the patina, we're actually creating a protective layer that will prevent rust and prevent future oxidation down the road. And also, by doing it ourselves in a controlled manner like this, we can control the pattern. So we can control how the knife eventually will look. We're not leaving it up to the elements. So here's what they look after about 2 or 3 hours. Once the mustard's dried, you can see it's forming a corrosion. It's almost like a little bit of rust. You can see the orange tint. So we're going to take that over and we're going to scrub it with Dawn and get all that off of there real good with a Brillo pad. And here they are after we clean them, and you can see the patina is starting to look pretty cool, huh? But there's a lot of blade in there that doesn't have the oxidation on it yet, so it's time to put a second layer of mustard on there. Number 2. Now I'm going to fast forward it again and put it in turbo mode here. Actually, I put it in 20 times speed. I wish I could work this fast. So this probably took me about 20 minutes here for this 1 minute worth of footage. But we get that second coat on there, both sides, set them up, let them dry again for a couple hours. By the time we get back, our handles will be dry and we can start drilling out for the Corby bolts. And once again, I have a video in my playlist, Customizing Knives, video number 2, that shows how to use the drill to make your Corby bolt installation easy. But we'll go through it briefly here in this video. Take a little square, make sure your drill bit is perfectly perpendicular to your drill press table. And then what you want to do is you want to stack up your handles and tape them together nice and rigidly, and use the old handle like I did here, and we're going to use the holes in the old handle, and that's going to line up our new holes perfectly. It's a lot easier than trying to use the blade, and if you get these off just a little bit, they can really be a pain in the butt. So what I'm actually doing is I'm going to set the drill bit down into the hole that's already in the old handle, and that's going to center my bit, and then I'll clamp it and before I drill. Unfortunately, my angle leaves a lot to be desired. I apologize for that. Just trying to get the project done here, and I forgot about the camera actually. But like I said, if you look for that video number 2 in my Making Custom Knife video selection, you will see a lot better instructions, and you'll see how I set the depth of the drill bit and everything for cutting out the 2 different size holes that you need in the handle for the Corby bolt installation. And my other video is going to be a lot more informative, but basically that's what I'm doing here is I'm drilling the smaller hole and then coming back with the bigger bit and widening open half of the hole for the head of the Corby bolt. So now we just got everything laid out and all the mustard cleaned off of the blades. Here's our Corby bolts. We'll make sure we got plenty of them. Handles are drilled out, looking good. And these are cleaned up, patina, all looking pretty on them. So check it out. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm real happy with them. Let's go ahead and show you what these Corby bolts look like. Get a hold of these babies. So you have a male and a female, and they screw together. And we want to make sure they screw together easily before we get our glue mixed up and they fit the handle properly. Another important thing is see the top of the handles where they meet the blade? We need to go ahead and get these sanded, finish sanded, because we're not going to be able to sand right next to the blade once these are glued on. So you want to go ahead and finish that top portion of the handle where it meets the blade and get them sanded to at least 600. I took these to 800, and that should be plenty enough. Alright, so now we have those ready to go. Like I said, we're going to dry fit them onto the handle with the Corby bolts, make sure they screw together easily, and then we're going to separate everything into the pairs and know exactly where it goes. Looking good. Alright, so let's take this one off. And everything for the left blade is going to go right over here. And we're going to take the right side apart. And everything for the right blade is going to go over here. So we can't mix anything up. Same Corby bolts on the same spot. Same handles on the same blade. Time to get the paper towel out again. Get the alcohol. Get everything cleaned up. Get it ready to glue. You know the drill. Now, I don't recommend trying to glue both handles at the same time. I'm prepping both and getting them ready, but I'm only going to mix up enough epoxy to do one knife at a time. It's just too hectic. It looks easy, but it's not. You know, you got a time limit, you got to get everything, you got to get it tight, you got to get it clean, and you want it perfect. So let's go ahead and mix up our glue here and start putting it on with our little adapter, little paper spreader, I mean. And make sure we get a good coat, even coat everywhere. Get it on there. Nice even spread. And then we got to get this on there and we got to get it screwed down. Keep plenty of paper towels handy with alcohol on them. That way if you got some glue on your hand, you get glue on your tool, you can clean it off and you're not working with sticky fingers. You could use gloves. I didn't have any handy and I'm just accustomed not to be wearing gloves. So that's why you don't see me wearing gloves. But if you got them, use them. Nobody will hold it against you. Now you're going to want to make sure you keep going back and forth and tighten those bolts until they don't tighten up anymore. As the epoxy works its way out, you're squeezing them together and they might feel tight, but when you come back a minute later, they might be a little loose. So just keep working back and forth, 3 or 4 different times. Then take your paper towel with alcohol on it and wipe the blade, wipe your hands, wipe your tool. Get everything good and clean, especially where the blade meets the handle. And then start your second one if you have a second one you're going to do. If not, well, the next step is to go ahead and do what I call the preliminary sand or grind. And what I did was I just sanded the 2 dimensions here. I sanded the handle up until the blank of the blade, but we haven't contoured the handles at all. We just got rid of all the excess material that extended past the tang of the blade. So now what we need to do is lay out how much we want to taper the blade from the front to the rear. And I am going to go with, and we got a 1/2 inch of handle material, so I'm going to go with 5/16. I'm going to put a mark there, and this pencil ain't that good. Let me get a marker. Alright, so I'm going to take a marker, and I'm going to come over to 5/16 and put a mark here. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Like that. Now, when I'm sanding the sides, I want to know where my pins are because they're harder than the handle material. And also, I don't want to overheat them, because if I sand right there on that pin, it could get hot and that could burn my epoxy, and I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and make sure that we mark those, so when we're sanding the taper, we know exactly where the pins are, and we can be careful now. So we're going to leave it about a 1/2 inch at the rear of the blade, 5/16 at the front, and I'm going to sand the line off. And that, once I sand that line off, there won't be any flat spot. It'll be tapered all the way. So now we're just going to do the other handle same way. And once I get them marked for the taper, I'm going to take them back to my little Harbor Freight 1-inch belt sander, and the first thing I'll do is sand each side of the handle to my line, the line I'm marking right here right now, and get the taper. So now they'll be tapered both sides, front to rear, and from the front and back to the end. So that's going to be the double taper handle. Now I'm not going to take you outside and film me sanding these handles. I already have a really good video on shaping your handles on my playlist. It's video number 4 of making a custom knife. This is the video right here, and there's plenty of footage on there of me sanding a knife and going into detail. But we're not going to do that here. I just don't want to get my camera all dusty again for something that you can go to my other video and check. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to sand down to these lines, and we'll be back in a minute. And poof, here we are. After about an hour of sanding, I went through, I started out with a 60 grit, went to a 120, went to a 220, a 400, an 800, and then just for the heck of it, I threw 1,000 on there and went over it. I pulled the tape off. I went to my sink and I cleaned these with hot water and Dawn. Got all the glue, got all the dust off of them, and now I'm just drying them with a paper towel. Now we got to be careful, because if we just walked away, the handles are good. The Corby bolts, they're stainless, they'll never rust. The epoxy is going to seal it up. There's going to be no water get behind the handles. But that is still a carbon blade. And even though we put the patina on there, the actual edge itself, and you know, it could rust here and there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this right here, Crisbee, same stuff that you season your cast iron pan with. What this is, beeswax with a little bit of oil mixed in. It's kind of a paste. Food safe, not an issue, and that's why I like it. And you just rub this on there, and it's not real greasy, it's not sticky. Like if you rubbed it with oil, it would attract a lot of dust and stuff like that. This doesn't. It doesn't have any kind of foul smell or anything. And like I said, it's food safe. It's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So you could put these on the shelf after you rub it down. They'll never rust. Nothing will ever happen to them. But let's see here in a minute after we get the blade. Now don't forget to get the spine of the blade, all the edges of the blade. All right, we want to get that everywhere. And not only is it going to protect the carbon steel, but it's going to darken up that canvas micarta and make it look pretty, which we'll see here in a minute. Let's just get these coated real quick, and then we'll put them to work and show them off. You can already see how those handles are getting a little darker, and they'll continue to get a little bit darker as we use them. That's what's the beautiful thing about the micarta. So what do you think? Turned out okay, didn't they? Got that nice double tapered handle. It's not going to slip out of your hand. Look at that shape. Perfect, perfect taper. Beautiful. The orange gives it some nice bling. So let's put them to work and see how they do. speed it up a little bit. This cutting board's moving all over the place and I'm making a mess. I know it, but I'm just having fun and I hope you are too, so enjoy the footage. So even though I'm making one heck of a mess here, these blades are doing a good job chopping this pork. It's the cutting board that's a problem. But I think they're beautiful. I think I got some beautiful chopped pork. I got a beautiful set of choppers. And I hope I put together a nice video and you enjoy it. I hope I entertained you. I hope you subscribe to my channel. I hope you like this video and share it with your friends. And also, don't forget, I have knife giveaways every month. I'm fixing to announce December's knife giveaway. I should have it up by this weekend. So check that out. Look for the video, December knife giveaway at YouTube channel John Clark. Enter the video and you could be the winner of a beautiful knife. So that video should be up, like I said, this weekend. Other than that, thank you, friend, for viewing my video.